previously have played in and out with youth national teams and professionally in Germany and US. And then I now coach and I run a nonprofit organization, and I coach from 5 years old up to a semi-pro women's team, and I'm a mom of 2 boys.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that there are many distinctions here, and you were like Coach of the Year back in 2005, and many important things, how we would guide not only the coaches but also parents or common people or teachers, what will be the first step for us, how we should deal with the situation to empower young women who start with sports.
Okay. I think right now is a unique time in U.S. So recently we had, they exposed, it's called the Yates Report in U.S. And in our professional women's league, NWSL, there now is this motto, hashtag no more silence. And so from when we were playing in the first ever pro league in U.S., there's been a lot of awareness brought to how coaches are interacting with young women and even younger girls, professional ladies and down. And so in speaking with the coaches, I think we're now becoming more aware in the U.S. that we have a responsibility to be more kind in our teaching. And that we're also even more aware of teaching more of this, like, about being a better human in general. Your coaches today taught us some stuff about that I think we're just missing as coaches in the U.S. We talk a lot about winning and how to win, but we also have to talk about being a good people and establishing those values. And so going back to the no more silence, in dealing with women's empowerment, we're even in the U.S. trying to teach our own girls to speak up. So when things aren't right and when you are feeling mistreated or there's something that is not appropriate, is having that voice and establishing a voice in our young women to be able to speak out on behalf of themselves.
It's really important. But are there still stereotypes? Like, do you think that because you have a long experience, is something that is going better, or what do you think was the situation now in this field of sport?
I think there's this inherent like undertone in our country where women are still at a lesser level, but we've reached so many milestones. In U.S. soccer, just this year, the women's team signed equal pay with the men. Which is a very big deal in soccer. But yet in women's basketball, WNBA and the NBA, there is a disparity in pay and in promotion and opportunity. We have established in our country from 1977 the Title IX, which gives equal opportunity for women to have scholarships to go to college and to play sports in college, which is great. So we seem to be coming, we're making 2 steps forward, but yet I think we still, in regards to women's rights anymore in our country, we're taking a big step back. But yet this no more silence for specifically women's soccer is really empowering for women, because from our women's gymnastics after the Olympics, Simone Biles coming forward, and now you have these women athletes really speaking on behalf of their bodies and being fair and having people treat them appropriately, I think is really important.
Mm-hmm. And maybe do you have a success story or something inspiring to share with us from your experience, something that happened like some years ago, or I don't know, an athlete that has grown up and having great results?
Let's see, inspiring. I mean, I can just kind of share a little bit about my own past. So I grew up in an Italian family, and my dad played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's in the U.S., that's the NFL, it's football, American football. And when I was younger, I always told my dad I wanted to be a professional athlete, and my dad would tell me, you can't, because there is no professional sports for women, and that's not going to happen. And so we really focused a lot on academics in my house, in school. And then when I graduated college, I had to move to Germany to play soccer because there was no professional soccer for women. And then they actually came up with the first women's pro league. The WUSA was our first pro league in US, and back in 2000, I was drafted, which was, I think that was the second time I ever saw my dad cry. But it was great for women's soccer to have that. And then just having been in the game for so long, I have seen where the women's game was and where it is now, and it's evolved greatly in the last decade. And I like to be able to say I was a part of that foundation. We are somewhat the pioneers of women's soccer, the first pro league players in the US. And for me, that is, I hold that really important in my life to say I was at the beginning of it. Although I wish I had the benefits of where it is now. Did not have that.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, and Jennifer, you are the counselor.
I am.
Yeah.
That's how I'll be known now, the counselor.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can tell us a few words about your experience and your background?
Sure. My name is Jennifer Grubb. My primary role now is providing mental health services to underserved populations. And so obviously I'm passionate about some of these topics that we'll be talking about here while we're doing this diplomacy program in Greece. But like Tara, I was part of that sort of the building of women's soccer in the US. I had the good fortune to play for the US women's national team with some of those kind of the names that everyone knows in US soccer, and so I had that benefit. But when I transitioned away from the game as a player, I kind of vowed that I would bring sports and the importance of mental health together, and so I started a private practice, and I try to blend those two things in my daily work.
Yeah, and you have athletes that are in a very crucial point, like I think that you're discussing with them and you are guiding them when they are to make choices or to go on or even to quit.
Yeah, so a part of my business is talking about performance consulting and setting goals to reach those next levels. But I also work with a lot of athletes that may not necessarily play at the elite levels, but really gain the benefit of being in a sports environment. And so it's a little bit of both. And sometimes I am working from a trauma-informed space with athletes. They all bring their own lives with them as well. And I think it's an important piece to just keep in mind that they are human beings, and as much as we want performance out of them, they're human beings first, and I think that's a piece that we really need to focus on.
Okay, and also you want to speak about violence and
violence, bullying, and hate speech.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, especially in the U.S., I can't speak for sporting in Greece, but we do have quite a bit of, I would say, more verbal violence than physical violence. It borders on competitiveness, but it quickly tips into mean and rude comments, and going so far as marginalizing certain groups. And so one of the groups that I'm passionate about working with is LGBTQ youth. And of course, there's hate speech and bullying for that group. And so, in terms of helping young people figure out how to combat some of those things, I spend a lot of time working on communication in particular, right? So if you feel like you're going to say something hateful, what is it that you're actually trying to communicate? And so it's not a simple philosophy or formula, but that's an area where I think we can work for some improvement to kind of combat some of that hate speech and bullying.
Mm-hmm. And is it something that is accepted by the other team members, or how do they react in teams if there are such cases? Is something that when we have like a case with bad speech or marginalizing people, do the other team members, do they support the one that is like in the middle, or do they become a team with the people that are saying the bad words or anything like this?
Yeah, I see. So are they sort of joining in, or are they coming to the support of the person that's being marginalized? I would say, like, in most situations, building a team culture is similar to organizing a culture just in general. And so I think it could go either way, but that's where I would rely on coaches and people who are working with these young people more consistently to build that culture around kind of the standards of excellence. What is acceptable language, what isn't, the power of words, how we help people find their own voices. And so, again, I wish there was just a simple, yes, it's always, teammates always stand up for one another, but everyone comes with a family background, and so I think it's on us then to really focus on building the culture that we want to see.
I also really like the name of the company, like Care. Is it for hiking, the logo?
It is, yeah. So the sort of way that I've structured my business is essentially finding your way, and that could mean a lot of things. And so I chose that very intentionally. And I live in Colorado, so we do a lot of hiking, and often the trails are only marked by the cairns. And so, yeah, super intentional choice.
Okay, so thank you. And I find that
Would you like to ask something also?
What do young girls have to earn by involving with soccer?
Great question. Do you want to start, or do you want me to just roll with all of my thoughts?
We definitely come from two different perspectives, which is awesome, yet the same perspective. I think for young girls, my feeling is it definitely can build their confidence. I think sports also allow girls to have more of a voice. We're working right now with a program where we're teaching young girls to become leaders. And what does that look like? And what are the various ways you can be a leader? It's not always having that voice. It might be through your actions. Some people are just given that empowerment through a title. But it's just allowing them to even learn how to be more confident, walk more confidently, and stand up for essentially what you do believe in. So we try to create environments where those girls can be successful and be more influential in their communities, even through community service. We try to expose young girls in our club to various socioeconomic groups, various cultures, and I think having a greater perspective also allows our girls to be better people within their community, and through sport we allow them those opportunities.
Okay.
And I think girls and women through sport, so many transferable skills. I mean, Tara already mentioned leadership, but things like communication, things like learning the value of kind of that resilience piece, right? I mean, obviously, you might not get the job, no different than maybe not playing every minute of a game, and learning how to sort of take what you can learn from those moments, but then transfer them into those growth moments. So I think that's another thing that girls can learn. And then for me, the confidence piece is, just because you have a confident way of being, I don't think needs to equal arrogance, and that's a misunderstood piece for women, I think sometimes, is if we present as confident, there's sort of this like, I don't know, I probably can't swear, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Like there's a little bit of this, oh, she's a little bitchy, and I think that's a piece that we can really take away from the sporting world, is that confidence can be just a way of being, not necessarily having to be negatively judged for it.
And one more thing too to add to that is right now we have this group that we're working with, the Tackling Transitions group, which is former professional athletes and players. Even if they just played in high school or college, it's how do you transition from one thing to the next in your life? And it's very difficult to transition from being a professional athlete to then being
a regular person.
Yeah, a regular person. Not that we were irregular before, but we have established skill sets through sport, whether it's teaching you perseverance. The first thing you learn in sports is how to lose, and that is very difficult. Once you transition from sport into life, whether you're going through a breakup as a young woman, or you're transitioning in your career, or you've been fired from a job, or you didn't get the job that you want, you as an athlete have all these transferable skill sets, and it's very important. And I'm older now, and I've been through a number of different careers and jobs, and I don't think I would have been as successful if I did not have that skill set established as an athlete.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.